Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and every couple of years Lenovo comes up with an interesting new product design and they put it out in the marketplace just to see how the market can react. And this is one of those products. It's called the YogaBook 9i, and on the surface it looks like your run-of-the-mill Lenovo 2-in-1 laptop until you open it up. And as you can see here, there is no keyboard or trackpad, but rather we've got two displays on this device, and there's a lot of different ways in which you can use it. This is definitely not going to be for everybody, but I think there's a market for some folks out there who might find a lot of utility in something like this. So what we're going to do in this video is take a look at some of the use cases for this device and also see how it performs doing all the things that we typically do in one of our reviews. And before we get into this, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, this is on loan from Lenovo. So when we're done with this, it goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this laptop is all about. Now the price point on this is definitely on the premium side of things. It retails for about $2,000 at the time I'm recording this video. It has an i7 i1355U processor on board. That's one of the new 13th generation Intel chips. It has 16 gigabytes of dual channel memory and a 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD. This is really not an upgradable unit, so what you buy is pretty much what you get. But I think for the target market, it's adequately equipped, and as you'll see in a few minutes, the performance on this is quite good. Now, of course, what sets this one apart is the display options on here. There are two 13.3-inch 2.8K displays. They both run at 400 nits. They're both OLED. They're running at 100% of DCI P3 in a 16:10 aspect ratio. And like most OLED displays, they look really nice. You've got awesome contrast ratios, very deep blacks. You have HDR support on both as well. And it really is a very attractive display solution, especially when you've got it in some of the use cases that we're going to look at in a few minutes here. And the 2.8K resolution translates out to 2880 by 1800 on each display. So you've got plenty of real estate here to work with on both of these displays. But these OLED displays and the glass associated with them does add some weight to the mix. So this comes in at just under 3 pounds or 1.34 kilograms, a little heavier than what you typically see in a laptop of this size, but that's because you've got two displays on board. Additionally, these displays will eat up battery life significantly, especially when you're running creative software and you've got the screen brightness up. So I'm putting battery life on this one at around 5 or 6 hours, doing the kind of work most people would do with such a thing. You can, of course, reduce the power consumption by lowering the brightness of the displays. You can actually control the brightness individually for each one. Now, you could turn off one of the displays to save battery life, but that also cuts the usability of the computer down quite a bit as well. So I think you'll want to keep a power supply nearby. It's got a great set of speakers that are built into the hinge here. A nice range of sound. It is really good for music and movies, along with web conferences and that sort of thing. So I think the audio here sounds great. You can also, of course, attach Bluetooth headphones if you want something more private. There is a nice 1440p webcam here at the top. You can see what the image quality looks like here. I think you'll really stand out on your Zoom calls. It maxes out at 30 frames per second, but for web conferences, I think it is more than adequate and looks great. It also allows you to log into the computer with your face because there is no fingerprint sensor on this device. Now the build quality on this feels quite nice. It is all metal. It's got a nice premium feel to it. The port selection isn't bad on this, but a little more limited perhaps than some other laptops we've looked at recently. It has a Thunderbolt 4 port here on the left, and on the right-hand side you've got two more Thunderbolt 4 ports. These are very useful ports to have because you can connect up external GPUs and storage and other displays along with getting power in. But you don't have a headphone jack on this. There's no card reader, so you will need to carry around some dongles if you have a need to connect different peripherals up. The only other things on the case here are a power switch to turn the unit on and off, and they also have a button here or a switch to enable and disable the webcam, so you can turn the camera off with a physical switch if you were concerned about privacy. But just note that when you do turn it off, the camera does not have a physical shutter. Now the computer comes with a couple of accessories in the box, including a keyboard here, a pen, and a stand. Let's take a look at the keyboard first. This is a Bluetooth keyboard. It follows the regular Lenovo design, and you can use it detached from the computer, but when you attach it, it'll recognize that it was attached, and in this mode here, we'll pull up some widgets so I can get my weather and my email here. I can also slide this up, and it will give me a virtual trackpad. It works pretty well, although it is a little weird having the keyboard being physical and the trackpad being a virtual one. I would have preferred if they could have integrated a track point like this portable keyboard that I have to get a pointing device integrated. Maybe they can do that in the next version. So kind of neat that you can use it in either scenario here. You can also pull up an on-screen keyboard by putting 4 fingers down on the display at once, and that'll turn the entire surface into a keyboard and trackpad combo. But I will say, as somebody who's been typing on physical keyboards my whole life, it's really hard to get used to typing on a virtual one like this. Once you get your fingers positioned, it tends to work okay, but I tend to feel my way around on a physical keyboard as to where the home keys are, and you really can't do that with a virtual one. So I've been going back to the physical keyboard when I've been testing this computer just because it feels more natural to me. The only issue with the physical keyboard here, though, is that when you're ready to move to your next location, you can't just fold the laptop up. You've got to take the keyboard off, find a place to put it, switch it off, and then put everything in your bag. So it's not all that elegant when you're trying to move around with the keyboard here. And the same goes with the stand and the pen. Let's take a look now and see how the pen performs. Now, the pen that it comes with is not rechargeable. You've got to put one of those quadruple A batteries in there. Should last a good long while, but you'll want to make sure you have a few of those batteries on hand. The pen tracks very well. It works on both displays at the same time here, so I could start writing in one app here on the left-hand display and then switch over to the right-hand display and start writing something else. What I found with it is that it does support pressure detection here, as you can see, and it does, again, track very well. The screen feels pretty good. A little bit of friction on the screen, which is good for giving you some tactile feedback as you're writing. And it's very cool to have 2 displays here that you can use with 2 different applications simultaneously. You could also have it where maybe you've got some notes on the lower display and a Zoom call on the upper one. There's a lot of different ways you can configure these displays to work with the pen, and the pen will work on both of them. So let's take a look now and see how it performs. I've got the laptop right now in its 2-up configuration here with the included stand. The stand folds up pretty nicely, but again, you've got to find a place for it as you're walking around. I am running here a 1080p 60 video off of my YouTube channel. It's been able to play these things back without any drop frames as expected, so the performance is good. I can, of course, grab my windows here and move them around between the 2 different displays, similar to what you could do with a regular 2-display computer. I'm going to close the video window here, though, and show you another neat thing that you can do with it. So right now, I've got my blog up here, and if I put 5 fingers on the display, I can turn this into one big one, so I can have both displays kind of work in concert here. So there's a lot of different little gestures you can make on the display to have it work in different ways. And there's also some things that you can do just by moving the mouse around or grabbing windows with your fingers that allow you to do some things as well. Now, I have found it's a little difficult to move windows around on this with just your fingers. Occasionally it does seem to work. So for example, if I wanted to grab this window and flick it down to the lower section here, that seems to work, but sometimes it doesn't always get it right. So it'll take a little bit of practice, I think, to get the gestures right on this, and there might be some future software updates that have to come down to improve it a little bit. But overall, it seems to be working. I do prefer to use it with a tracking device like my TrackPoint keyboard here. My unit also came with a mouse. I don't know if this is going to ship with other units, but having a mouse or some kind of mouse-like device, I think, is going to be a lot less frustrating with this setup here, at least at the moment. They do have an application that you can load up that gives you all of the instructions as to how you can use the different displays. They give you some ideas, but also, again, some of the gestures that you might need to follow to use it. Another fun thing with this is that you can flip it around into dual portrait mode like we had with the pen before, and you can browse 2 different websites at the same time, or put a Word document on one and a PowerPoint presentation on the other. You can really do a lot here with having 2 displays that have the exact same functionality and resolution, Both of them look great here, and it's just kind of a fun way to approach computing, especially if you're doing some kind of creative work on it. I found web browsing on this, along with word processing and all the other stuff, to work really, really well. The Intel processor here is very snappy and responsive, as you can see. It does have a Wi-Fi 6 radio on board. That's what we're hooked up to right now for web browsing. And as you can see, I think you'll get very good performance out of this doing the basic kinds of tasks that you might find yourself doing. And on the Browserbench.org Speedometer benchmark test, we got a score of 362. That indicates to me that this will do very well with web applications and Microsoft Office applications and other things that you might do throughout the course of the workday. So very competitive from a performance standpoint. Now, you do have some good options for creative work on this also, because these are really nice displays for doing video editing and photo editing. Right now I've got DaVinci Resolve loaded up, and there's a couple of different modes that DaVinci Resolve has involving 2 display computers. If I had the paid version, I could have this version running a full-size preview of what I'm working on. I found the performance overall on this to be quite good for a device without a discrete GPU. So for example, I can drop this cross dissolve here on this 4K 60 project. Might be a little bit hard to see with the small window there, but I'm not seeing any lag here in processing a cross dissolve, for example. So I think if you're looking to do some basic video editing work, nothing too fancy, this will work fine. Now you can, of course, attach an external GPU, and that would dramatically increase its video editing performance. So if you wanted to do something a little more robust, plugging in one of those GPUs to the Thunderbolt port will get you there, and you've got a pretty nice little edit suite here that you can carry around with you, complete with 2 displays. Now, believe it or not, this thing isn't bad at playing games, and there's a couple of games that actually take advantage of its unique display configuration here. This game is Asphalt 9, and as you can see here, it has a mode where we can see the map on the lower display and the game here on the upper one, kind of like a big Nintendo DS. There's a couple of other games that make use of this as well. I don't think you'll find a lot that do this, but it's kind of cool that you have that as an option. And of course, if there are games out there that support dual displays, you can also use them with this. A little bit earlier, I loaded up Red Dead Redemption 2, and we ran it at 1900 by 1200, and it was actually performing quite well at the lowest settings. We were getting pretty much mid-30s for our frame rate with that resolution and settings level. But it was very, very playable. It looked fantastic, and it's definitely a good little platform for playing some of these games. You're not going to get, a gaming laptop level of performance out of it, but still very playable here on a laptop that you might be using for other things. As you can see here in the demo, the bottom display was not active for that particular game, but the game ran well on the top one here. And on the 3D Mark TimeSpy benchmark test, we got a score of 1,813. That puts this machine pretty much in line with what you can expect out of a Steam Deck. So if you look at the Steam Deck and what it can run, this will be very close to that from a gaming perspective. So fine for casual gamers. Obviously, hardcore gamers will want that gaming laptop. But again, you can, of course, attach a GPU to this to increase its graphical performance. And on the 3D Mark stress test, we got a great score of 99.2%. This indicates that the performance of the computer will be relatively consistent even under heavy sustained load. I did find when we were running Red Dead Redemption 2 that the fan kicked on when that game was going. It's not all that loud. It's certainly a lot quieter than some other small laptops I've looked at recently. And most of the time when you're in something like Microsoft Office like I am now, or on the web browser, you're not going to hear that fan at all. So it's a pretty quiet machine, and you're only going to hear that fan when you're really pushing the hardware here, but most of the time it's going to be mostly silent. All right, one last thing to take a look at here, and that is its Linux compatibility. Unfortunately, Linux is a no-go on this one. Although it detected a lot of the hardware, it had a hard time with the displays, as you can see here. So the second display wasn't detected at all, and the upper display was upside down, and the touch functionality didn't work on it either. So this is something I think is going to be limited to Windows at the moment, but maybe at some point in the future, Lenovo will introduce some drivers or something to give you a little more choice of operating system. But right now, I think Windows is going to be where it's at. And it does Windows quite well. And I think there are people out there who could find a lot of creative uses for a dual display laptop like this, especially all the different ways in which you can orient things. I'm not somebody that I think would get a lot of use out of this, but perhaps some of you watching might. And it's kind of fun to see these new product ideas come out and play around with them, because the laptop market has been a bit stagnated recently. Certainly performance gets better every year, but there's not a lot of new ideas being experimented with. But here you go. Here's a new idea that does work, and it's a product that you can buy, even though it is a bit on the pricey side. And I think if you're somebody who works in the creative field and sees a use case here, it might be something worth taking a look at. That's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Chris Allegretta, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Logic KGR, Tom Albrecht, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.